Hey guys, welcome back to Beyond the Box Score, Tuesday night. December 16th. One game, one trophy, one stage where minutes tighten, rotations shrink, and stars are asked to carry everything. This isn't a normal slate. This is the NBA Cup Finals. The New York Knicks, the San Antonio Spurs, tight rotations, main players expected to play big minutes. Every possession heavier, every mistake louder. And with only one game on the board, every number matters more than ever. Coming into this breakdown, the last NBA video dropped Saturday and walked away 2-0. Stephen Castle over 26.5 PRA cashed halfway through the fourth quarter. Mikal Bridges over 14.5 points hit with a bucket in the final minute. Castle went over with 7 to 8 minutes left in the fourth. That context matters, because tonight the focus narrows even further. One game, two props, fantasy score only, prize picks lines that aren't copied from sportsbooks, forcing their own pricing. And that's where this slate lives. Let's dice deep to our matchup NBA Cup Final. This is a one-game slate, and the environment dictates everything. Tight rotations, 8-man usage on the Knicks side. Big minutes expected across the board. The Spurs leaning into their primary contributors. No margin for bench volatility. And when minutes stabilize, fantasy production becomes a math problem instead of a guessing game. Prop focus. Stephen Castle, San Antonio Spurs. Stephen Castle enters this game with a fantasy score line set at over 32.5. The injury context matters. He suffered the injury in mid-November, missed almost one full month, and returned on December 8 against New Orleans. Since then, the minutes have climbed steadily. 23 minutes in that first game back, 26.5 minutes against the Lakers, then 34 minutes in the last game versus OKC in the NBA Cup. Tonight, the expected minutes sit at 33 to 34. In the last game against OKC, Castle finished with 22 points, 6 rebounds, and 2 assists. 0 steals, 0 blocks, 6 turnovers. That added up to 30 PRA but only 26.2 fantasy points, which landed under the 32.5 fantasy score line. And that's a rare outcome. 30 PRA usually doesn't translate to just 26.2 fantasy points unless turnovers pile up and defensive stats completely disappear. 6 turnovers, no steals, no blocks. That's the entire story of why that line didn't get there. Zooming out to hit rates, the consistency shows up once minutes are there. In games where Castle has played at least 27 minutes, he has gone over 32.5 fantasy score in 11 of 14 games. When the threshold rises to 30 minutes or more, he's played 12 games and cleared this line in 9 of them. The per-minute production reinforces it. Last season, Castle produced 1.00 fantasy points per minute. This season, that number jumps to 1.19 fantasy points per minute. The stated opinion on line value places a fair fantasy score line between 34.5 and 35.5, while the current number sits at 32.5. The description is simple: too low, not because of hope, but because of minutes, per minute output, and historical hit rates once the rotation locks in. Prop focus. Mikal Bridges, New York Knicks. On the Knicks side, Mikal Bridges carries a fantasy score line of over 30.5. The minutes profile immediately jumps off the page. In the last NBA Cup game against Orlando, Bridges played 42.5 minutes. He finished with 16 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, 0 steals, and 0 blocks. Another NBA Cup game logged him at 36 minutes. Another referenced game shows 43 minutes. Tonight, the expected range is 36 to 40 minutes, with a possible ceiling of 41 to 42. The projected number settles around 38 minutes. That workload matters because Bridges' defensive production is baked into his fantasy profile. On the season, he averages almost 2 steals per game and over 1 block per game, totaling 3 defensive stops per game. Turnovers sit at 1 per game. Those are fantasy multipliers that don't require high-scoring nights to matter. From a per-minute standpoint, this season marks a career-high fantasy points per minute at 1.04. The typical referenced range sits between 0.85 and 0.9, stated as 85.9. That efficiency jump paired with extended minutes is where fantasy lines get tested. The hit rates back it up. On the season, Bridges has gone over 30.5 fantasy score in 18 of 25 games. When the minutes reach at least 35, he's cleared the line in 12 of 15 games. Heavy minutes, defensive production, low turnovers, and an 8-man rotation that forces starters to stay on the floor. Knicks rotation and game environment. The Knicks rotation tells the rest of the story. Last game bench minutes show Jordan Clarkson at 13, Tyler Kick at 16, Mitchell Robinson at 17, and Yabusele at 4. That's not depth. That's necessity. It's an 8-man rotation with Miles McBride ruled out. Josh Hart, Jalen Brunson, OG Anunoby, and Karl Anthony Towns are all expected to play big minutes, with Towns' availability tied to foul trouble. The structure forces Mikal Bridges into sustained floor time whether shots fall early or late. Spread and game lean contextual. With only one game on the slate and no numerical spread or total listed, the lean comes from structure rather than numbers. Tight rotations. Star-heavy minutes. Fewer variables. That environment historically compresses outcomes and amplifies per-minute producers rather than bench volatility. This game sets up as one where core players define the result rather than rotation chaos. This slate features 2 props and a stated target record of 2-0. Stephen Castle projects for approximately 34 minutes. Mikal Bridges projects for approximately 38 minutes. Both lines live in the fantasy score market, where prizepicks creates independent numbers rather than mirroring sportsbooks. Both rely on minutes security. Both have documented hit rates once minutes thresholds are reached. And both sit in a one-game environment where coaching decisions tighten rather than loosen. If there's a scenario-based takeaway, it's that sustained minutes plus per minute efficiency create natural correlation when rotations shorten and stakes rise. In a one-game NBA Cup Finals slate, the math doesn't need to be complicated. It just needs to be respected. This is beyond the box score. One game, 2 props. Every minute accounted for.